Now, please welcome to the stage the writer and director of A Fantastic Fear of Everything, Mr. Crispian Mills, and his stars, Mr. Simon Pegg and Amara Karan, and the co-director, Chris Hopewell. Fantastic. A cavalcade of talent. Amazing. Crispian, let's start with you, because this is a film that almost defies description, so I'm going to leave it up to you. What is A Fantastic Fear of Everything?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's like...
I start with the easy ones.
The greatest film pitch in history is Ridley Scott, isn't it? When he was doing Aliens and he went into the boardroom and he just said, Jaws in space. And then he left and they were all writing checks. And this film was impossible to pitch for in a way because...
It's Jaws in space.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Simon plays Jack, a writer who's writing crime novels about the golden age of murder, Victorian London. And, the subject matter starts to get the better of him. And we realise that actually his background, his roots is in children's literature. And he's blocking, basically. He's not facing up to why he was drawn to that in the first place, and it takes him through all of his fears, which lead back to his own childhood, basically. And that's every spoiler I can think of in one little.
And Simon, what drew you to this? Because this is a film that has many different styles in it. It's a comedy, it's a paranoid thriller, it's got stop motion animation. That's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. Was it the fact that Crispian was going so out there that drew you?
Crispian bought me an early version of the script, and I was just on board from day one. It evolved from that point. It became a feature film, and then it through different iterations it took on what it is now. It started off as an adaptation of Paranoia and the Laundrette, the Bruce Robinson short story, and it became something completely of itself, and took on the shape that it is now. And at every stage, it just seemed very... I love the way it was written, and the character was a gift, as an actor to spend, a lot of time in my pants was just so exciting. And anyone would want to come to work in their underwear and sit there all day. That was the biggest draw for me. If you pardon the pun, draws.
We've started at a good level, I think.
Amara,
I noticed you pointed yourself out when Simon said anyone would like to go to work in their underwear, but
right,
that's not a draw for you.
I don't necessarily share that, but yeah.
It's a shame.
I was happy that... Well, I don't know. You'll have to see the film to see whether or not I get down to my drawers. But there we are.
You would do if it were Jaws in space. You absolutely
then I would
do. But
yes.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about your character and how she fits in?
Well, I think she's a stranger that Jack meets, and they go on this incredible adventure. I think to say too much more about it would be a shame, because that would spoil the fun. She really is a stranger, and I think it's nice that we know very little about her when she makes her entrance, and it's very unexpected what happens. So.
Okay. Interesting. And Chris, you're the co-director, but also the production designer in this. How exactly did that work?
Well, I mean, we had a very strong idea of how we wanted the whole thing to look from a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, when Crispian first sort of came to me with the idea. And we just kind of built it together, really, and try to keep the colours muted, keep it kind of gothic looking, keep it kind of scary and Victorian to match this guy's sort of frame of mind.
Okay. And what about the co-directing thing? How did that work with you two?
It was a nightmare.
Yeah,
Division of labour.
I mean, you argue, you lose a lot of time, but eventually, no. The thing is, we were shooting. We only had 28 days, which is how long it takes to zombify London.
They weren't zombies technically, but there you go.
And by the end of it, I mean, the thing is, a lot of films when they're rushed like that, the visual side of the cinema suffers. But because we'd had weeks and weeks and years to plan, and we had two people working on it, two tiny brains and one giant mouth. Yeah. We were able to, create the visual style and not lose the drama, the attention to the detail.
So, how long was this in the works for you? You said years.
Yeah, I mean, from the very, very beginning and reading Paranoia and the Laundrette, it was about 5 years. I started off as a short film, and then I showed it to Chris, and then Simon looked at it and said, this should be a feature, and we just developed it as mates all together, Really, it was born. It was a team of people conducting unsupervised filmmaking.
Absolutely. And was film directing always on the agenda for you? Because obviously you have the other job, that part of your history, but also you're a Mills. And that would seem to indicate that at some point you were going to be doing
business.
this, in the family business.
Well,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think you got to have a calling. You know, you just.
Yeah.
I think when I was about 27, I woke up and just realised that I was obsessed with films, and I spent about 10 years writing scripts of varying quality, and this was 10 years later. This is the first one that got made.
Okay, fantastic. And before we meet Jack and talk about him further, let's have a look at Jack in action. This is the first clip from the movie, and this is a scene where Jack meets his agent. Simon, if you want to talk about this one a little bit more before,
this is myself as Jack meeting up with my agent Claire, played by Claire Higgins, who's a wonderful actress that I remember from Hellraiser. But has an illustrious career, and it was a pleasure to work with her. She's fabulously talented and crazy, as all the best actresses are. This is Jack venturing out of his house to meet his agent.
Fantastic. Roll the clip, please. Thank you. Now that's quite an interesting look for you, isn't it?
Yeah. It was fun. I was instructed prior to shooting to not shave or cut my nails.
Your nails?
Yeah, my nails were like talons, they used to jam dirt underneath them every day, and I lost a lot of weight, and I just tried to get in the mind of a guy who'd not left his house for 3 weeks, and I did a lot of yoga. I couldn't really work out because I didn't want to look buff, so I just sort of tried to lose as much weight without doing anything. So Bikram yoga was the key to that.
It's a performance that you're on your own, on your own rather, for a lot of this movie, and you're going slightly mad, or really, really mad actually. How difficult was that to reach those levels of emotion every day with no one around?
It was tough. No, it was easy. No, it was tough. It was kind of, it was a great environment to be working in because the set was very immersive. It was a beautiful sort of replica of, we kind of thought it was like an embassy, right? Like a sort of a place that had been reclaimed as a residential home, but had been for some purpose forgotten something else. And Jack was kind of this little child in scale in there. The ceiling was really high, the windows are big, and it's like a reflection of his mind. And he's like this little figure in this giant room, and so it was easy to get in the mood, and we were shooting so fast, and it was so crazy, and it was easy to be hyper. I drank a lot of coffee, and just, and with a script like that, it's an enormous help. I didn't have to get too method.
Did the pants help?
Pants really help.
We haven't really seen the pants yet, but they're truly a work of art.
Yeah, it was lovely. Yeah. As I say, I used to sit in my special chair, which I take to jobs. It's like a deck chair that reclines, and just sit with my pants on and in a cashmere sweater and just relax. It was delightful.
How was it for you guys? Was that disturbing?
Yeah. Everyone got really used to it. It was like nobody cared. After the first time, it was like weird, and then I was just sat there like this, and nobody would bat an eyelid.
It's strange to see him clothed.
I'm not going to ask about the pants now, but what are you wearing? The film's about obsession in many, many ways. I mean, Jack gets dangerously obsessed with the idea of murders and people trying to murder him. Does that resonate with you, Crispian? Have you been obsessed with anything in your life to the level, perhaps, that Jack was? Not saying you're not leaving your house, but along those lines, maybe?
Yeah. I've been very, very paranoid in the past. Once, the most paranoid I've ever been was once I thought that a car alarm was a mind ray. But it was very, very early in the morning. So hey, we've all been there at some point.
Yeah, obviously. And
the mind ray feeling. Yeah, we've all had it, haven't we? I mean, it was.
And Simon, have you been obsessed about anything?
Apart from Carrie Fisher's ass, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's probably better.
Until it was changed for the prequels. And Amara, any obsessions in your life?
God, too many to declare here. Sort of really terrible obsessions.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Anything safe? Anything PG rated?
It's a family show.
It's a family show. So, Chris, what are your obsessions?
No, not really. I don't have obsessions.
No obsessions?
I wear obsession. I don't have any.
I was obsessed with the cologne obsession, weirdly enough. That was for a long time.
Just taking showers.
I love the smell of it.
Okay. We have another clip now. This is Simon. This is an interesting one for you because you got to reunite with Paul Freeman who you start with in Hot Fuzz, and this is where we meet Dr. Friedkin. Crispian, I don't know if you want to set this one up and explain exactly how Jack gets to this point where he's talking to...
I don't know what the clip is.
It's the Dr. Friedkin scene.
It's Dr. Friedkin.
My pajamas.
In the pajamas, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's, I guess Dr. Freeman represents, he's a psychotherapist, but he's also a kind of like a wizard. He's Obi-Wan to Jack's Luke. So take it from there.
Fantastic. Roll the clip, please. Thank you. This is obviously based, as Simon said, on Bruce Robinson's novella, Paranoia in the Laundrette. How difficult was it to get the rights to that novella from Bruce?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. No, I mean, I went chat with Bruce, and he was a mate. So he was very easy about it, you know. He was just, give it a go, you know. What to do.
Really?
No, I mean, it just felt natural, and it felt like the right... I never felt, strangely, even though Bruce was a bit of a hero, and Withnail's a kind of a legend, it always felt very natural adapting it, and it wasn't intimidating, actually. He was really supportive. First script I sent him, he said, chuck it in the bin, and we just went on from there. You know, it was a very... we were very straight up with each other.
Did he visit the set at all, or was he keeping his distance?
No, he was making rum diaries,
of course he was,
while we were filming. So.
Absolutely. And Simon,
film, not the drink.
And Simon, do you see something of Withnail and I in Jack, in a way?
Yeah, well, when we were talking about Jack's look, we wanted him to have that sort of rakish dishevelment that Withnail has, you know, a kind of a sort of romanticism in his awfulness. And so, and he is that kind of odd character, that sort of erudite, smart person, very down on his luck. So in that respect, he is a cousin of Withnail, and that movie is one of the greats, and a film that I list as an influence and an inspiration to me over the years. So it's great to be within that kind of universe, you know, of the sort of kind of posh.
We don't have a lot of time, so let's. I'm sure you've got questions for everybody here. So put your hands up. And we'll get some roving microphones around. Yes, please, sir. Thank you.
Very enthusiastic.
Can I just ask you how much weight you lost, Simon? And can you tell us a bit more about how you did it?
40 pounds. No, I don't know. I'd come off the back of my Mid-Ghost Protocol, so I'd already dropped quite a lot of weight, but I didn't want to look like I've been working out particularly, so I tried not to do any lifting or anything like that. I just tried to get a bit skinny. And I did a lot of Bikram yoga. You sweat a lot and you drop a lot of liquid. So it was, and didn't eat very much. I wouldn't advise it. It's not I'm not going to release a book. It was unhealthy and probably unwise. So go on Weight Watchers. It's better for you.
You don't feel better for being
lighter? Absolutely. And I quit drinking as well. So I don't. That's always an empty calorie that can add to your weight if you let it. So I stopped drinking a year before. So it was quite easy to get in shape. I prefer being fitter to Burke and hair fat.
Any other questions? So just put your hands in the air, and we will get ready. Wow. Yes, please, over there.
Always a very tentative moment when the questions go out. Everyone looks very guilty.
Just a quick question for Crispian. How easy was it to get funding for this project as your debut? Phil.
Good question.
Well, it's a very having Simon involved was massive. People could see it was a great role for him, and doors would open and people would be happy to have a chat. But this is the world we live in right now, where everything is people like brand recognition in the funding world. And if it's not based on a bestseller or a video game or a board game or a film that's already been made, if it's difficult. And this one especially was quite novel, and we couldn't really compare it to anything else. So there were a few short meetings. It wasn't easy, but we got there in the end.
The trouble is with making films in this country is that there's a ceiling on what a film will make, particularly domestically in America and worldwide, and they have to give you their budget in accordance with what the maths are when they figure it all out, and the fact is we're a small country, and even in America we're considered foreigners, and a British film will make a ceiling of probably, unless you're Harry Potter or James Bond, probably about $35 million at the most a British film will make at the box office. So and then you factor in international into that and how it's going to appeal overseas. They factor all this in and they go, okay, you'll make this money back. You can have this much money to make it. So it's all sums these days. It's kind of boring.
Anyone here? Put your hands up. Oh, right at the back. There's a lady right at the back by the speaker. Thank you.
Question for Simon. Out of all the films that you've done, not including this one, what was your favourite one to shoot?
That's a hard question because they're all my babies and I couldn't possibly choose. For different reasons, you know. Paul was a huge one for me because my daughter was born in the middle of it, and Sean was a huge one because it was our first one, and I just did Star Trek 2 and that was like the most fun ever. And, you know, they're all kind of... It's difficult to distinguish between them all. I guess I'd say Shaun of the Dead just because it was the beginning of everything, and you know I owe that film a lot. So, but it was tough. We were making a film for not much money. We didn't know it was going to even get released in the UK, let alone America. So I'll say Paul.
How important is it for you to stay here and keep doing films? Obviously, you're doing Mission Impossibles and Star Treks, but you keep doing small British films at the same time.
Yeah, as soon as I don't have to do that, I'll be off. No, it was really nice to come back to make this film here, and after having done Mission Impossible, which was 7 months, to come back to this, which was 5 weeks, and you know, as Crispian said, it's sort of unsupervised filmmaking. It felt kind of exciting and cool, and to be making it at Shepperton, which was, you know, on the very soundstage where Crispian's mum and dad met. It was kind of a bizarre coincidence.
Yeah. How was that for you, by the way?
I mean, for me it was weird, but it's Shepperton is like, you know, they've been making films there for 100 years, so everybody goes there with a sort of sense of occasion and famous films that you love. David Lean shot there, you know. So there you go. It's great.
And Amara, can you talk about being parachuted into this film? Because Simon's on his own for ages, dancing around in his pants. You know, Crispian and Chris are quite close, obviously, as co-directors.
Yeah.
Was it strange in a way?
No, actually. Everyone was just so wonderful, and I have to say it was one of the best experiences of my life making this film, and I really did learn so much, and actually, it really was. But also, the amazing thing is that I am a lot less scared now of stuff. You know, earlier we were talking about phobias.
Yeah.
And what you're scared of. I mean, I said this to Crispian recently. It's amazing that I'm just much less scared of stuff.
It was a catharsis for you.
Yeah, well, yes, I think that's what it was.
And the exorcism that we did.
Yes, as well helped too. But yeah, it was incredible. I mean, the whole crew and cast just gelled and bonded so beautifully. It was absolutely incredible.
Fantastic. And as I mentioned earlier on, there are stop motion elements to it. I won't talk too much about those, but can you talk about the decision, both of you, to include stop motion animation in this?
It's his fault.
Well, yeah, I mean, Chris made one of the best music videos ever. Radiohead's There, and when you know that you've got a gang together, and you know somebody can do that, you think, well, let's give it, let's play to our strengths. And the style of animation that we went for was that you basically were in charge of. It's
we wanted to keep it, have a real feeling of nostalgia, especially at in that last scene. We really needed to get some emotions tweaked, so we went for something which I find very nostalgic, which is the work of Oliver Postgate, who did Bagperson, who did the Clangers. I mean, people may or may not know that, but it's just a beautiful old traditional stop frame technique, which just has such a sort of like a beauty to it and a magic, which we thought would really fit with that particular scene.
So it was all done with, by hand and everything, but using Mac computers.
Oh, really?
Just wanted to know that.
It's all shot
We were using
interesting.
Macs.
Yeah, we were.
Any goodie bags.
We love Mac.
Goodie boxes.
But we shot it all digitally, traditionally done, but digitally kind of mastered.
And that was done after the film was largely shot?
That took us 12 weeks after the film, and we did it in a barn in the West Country, over near the Spensham Bridge in Bristol.
It was an apple barn.
Yeah, an apple barn.
Any more questions at all? Yes, please. Oh, you again, sir. Yes, absolutely. Why not?
It's a weight question.
It's not a weight question. It's about...
How do you put on weight?
It does go back to something we've talked about already, and you dancing around in your pants in this movie, Simon, which I'm sure is very amusing. But do you ever wish you got cast as a kind of romantic lead that played upon your wonderful handsomeness rather than your ability to be comedic?
Rather than my balls, which are distracting, to say the least. No, maybe. I don't know. I have, by sort of proxy, got to play that kind of character in like Run Fat Boy Run and How to Lose Friends. I, made out with Kirsten Dunst and Tandy Newton. So eat that. It was really nice.
Anyone else at all? Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, this is kind of ridiculous, but I've always been curious because I know you're a Buffy fan.
I was, yes, Sam.
And I love Buffy. So my friends always have a debate over who's the best love interest. Angel, Riley, or Spike, and I was curious as to who your favorite is.
Angel all the way.
Really?
I mean, Riley was a little wet. I mean, Spike was. Spike felt crowbarred in. It was like, who's left that can have it off with Buffy?
He went and got a soul.
But it was like, and also it was replaying the old Angel thing because he suddenly got a chip. It was a bit convenient. I thought Angel was the best.
Okay.
I love David Boreanaz's Cro-Magnon face. I think he's ruggedly handsome in a real caveman kind of way. And I thought Spike's a great character, but it just felt like, come on. It's like Friends. Who hasn't shagged each other yet?
Okay.
You know?
Fair enough.
You're
But
a
he
Spike
went and
fan,
got a
aren't you?
soul for her.
Oh.
You know? That's a big
you're
thing.
an Anglophile, aren't you? You liked it because he's British and blonde.
Well, that helped.
Was that a question for everyone or just for Simon? Yeah.
If anyone else has an opinion,
Let's go down the
I'm
road.
open
Yeah.
to it.
Crispian, where do you stand on this?
That's a good question.
Anyone else with questions for? Oh, right. Look at that! Suddenly a load of hands. Let's go to this
nice.
gentleman right here, please. Thank you. And then we'll go to you at the back of this.
Buffy related now.
Hello. I was just wondering, you seem to have the same sort of stable of friends/actors in most of your films, Simon. So are there any of your mates in this film?
Schlachters, I call them.
Why not? Why not?
No.
Or is it really
I've
a
made new
two-man
friends.
operation or a man and woman operation?
I got to work with Amara Karan here and Alan Drake and Paul Freeman, who was in Hot Fuzz. I'm not in a sort of jobs for the boys thing. I have, people I like to work with, and we have a sort of rep company. But people are always coming into that at every different time. It's never the same.
I just like seeing Kevin Eldon on screen.
Everybody likes seeing Kevin Eldon on screen. The guy's a wizard. But you do make friends that you like and you have a chemistry with and a rhythm with and a shorthand with. And so I'm sure you'll see faces you've seen before in The World's End when we do that. Although maybe not. We've not cast it yet. So I think work with the people you like if you can.
I'll remember that, thanks.
Yes, Stripey Man at the back here.
This question goes to Crispian and Chris. In terms of the Jack character, did you feel that Simon Pegg was the right actor straight away as soon as you done the script, or did you have any other actors in mind?
No, to be honest, we had a much shorter script, and I showed it to Simon, and hoping that he would see the potential in it, and he did. And then once Simon was encouraging and supportive, then I basically wrote it knowing that we had that team. So it was Simon and Chris, and then actually the cast started to grow and gather around the project. So I was writing, knowing that we had Amara, knowing we had Claire Higgins, Alan Drake, and it evolved in a pretty unique way, didn't it?
Yeah.
Knowing that you had that.
Organically.
You know you had the team. We used the organic word.
I promised myself I wouldn't say organic, damn it.
Simon told me once that essentially you added a third act, that you went beyond the Bruce Robinson novella.
Yeah.
Is that just what happened? You went away and wrote that and it expanded?
It became more complex than that, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, because the novella is 2 acts, and then we needed the third act. But the third act has to be born out of seeds that are sown and characters that are developed right from the beginning. So you had to kind of go and do a whole. It was an engine-out job basically, but it was worth it.
Fantastic. And on that note, that's all the time we have, I'm afraid. Thanks so much for coming. A fantastic fear of everything is out on June 8th, so do go and see it. And please give it up for Chris Hopewell, Amara Karan, Simon Pegg, and Crispian Mills. Thank you.
Thank you.